Naloxone is an opioid antagonist, which means it temporarily reverses the effect of an opioid overdose. It's very quick acting, acts within 2 to 8 minutes, and it lasts 20 to 30 minutes.
We've saved over 160 lives using naloxone. We've saved the NHS, I think it's around £450,000, and for every pound that we spend on naloxone, it saves the wider health economy £14.39. Since we've started the project, we've trained over 2,500 people. Since 2013, 2012, there's been a big spike in the number of drug-related deaths. Hostel workers were confronted quite regularly with people overdosing from heroin or methadone, and they couldn't do anything. In 2015, the legislation was changed around the supply of naloxone. Before, it was only obviously medical staff that could administer it or supply it. Now actually it can be supplied by anyone with the aim of saving a life. Now from us going in, training their staff and actually them having naloxone on site, if someone does OD, if they do overdose, we can actually now do something. We can actually save a life, we can give naloxone. So I believe inclusion are cutting edge when it comes to naloxone, the naloxone innovation. We are the leading organisation since the new legislation came out in 2015. We wrote a protocol and we obviously set up the pilot project. As part of that, we worked very closely with SMGP and they promoted our protocol on their websites, and actually it became a protocol that all organisations could use because we believed it really was best practice, and it was identified as best practice moving forward. We won the HSJ award last year, again for the project that we did around naloxone and for the effect that it had, in saving sort of 160 lives. It was great, and I think it was a real positive for all our staff because they could see actually the positive work that had been done, with the patients, with engaging local family members, and I think it really highlighted that actually naloxone, A, it saves lives, B, it reduces risk, but really importantly, it also increases partnerships with people that potentially we wouldn't have partnerships with. And I think it really engages family members and empowers family members to work with their loved one. And I think it actually gives people hope, it inspires people to have hope. And moving forward, substance misuse, there's a lot of social isolation common with substance misuse, and I think actually naloxone brings families together, brings people together.
So you use naloxone if you suspected somebody had an opioid overdose. So there'd be a blue tinge to the lips, they'd be unresponsive, the breathing would take on a sort of a rasping, sort of shallow rasping sound. It sounds quite unpleasant. And the pupils would be very, very small.
Obviously the first thing to do is to phone 999, phone the ambulance. It's also very important that we train all our sort of staff and everyone we train in naloxone, such as service users, families, the recovery position. Because obviously it's very important that the patient doesn't choke, they're in the recovery position.
So you'd open the box, unscrew the cap, screw on one of the needles, then take the cap off the needle, and you then inject into the muscle at 90 degrees. You can be quite forceful because it'll go quite deep into the muscle. And then there's 5 metered doses marked on the syringe. Each one's 0.4 milligrams of naloxone. You're not going to hurt them by giving them too much. Give them 1 metered dose, wait 2 to 3 minutes. If they still haven't come round, and then give them another dose. You can give them chest compressions in between while you're waiting for the 2 to 3 minutes, and just keep administering until either they come round or the paramedics arrive.
When the person comes round, obviously you're putting them into instant withdrawals. So the more you give, the worse they may feel, but obviously you've just saved a life. So you give as much as you need to save a life, to bring them round.
My first experience is when I went over in a friend's house and the ambulance were called. I hadn't known that I'd gone over, but it was like a jolt, and I went straight into withdrawals. Well, it kind of brought me back to life again, and thank God that it was there, because my value of life now has completely changed. I think if I was able to have done this like a few years ago, that it certainly would have saved a few people's lives. And I wish that I had had the training. It gives people back their lives, and it may help them think about the value of their life.
I had to use it on one person. I used to know he was always kind of like smiling and happy and that, but he liked his drugs a bit too much. First hit he was alright, and then got greedy like nature of the beast, and then done another one. And I went back into my like living room, and he was just sat upright in my chair, like not breathing, turning purple. I injected him with half of it, and he was still gone like nothing. So I got on the phone to the ambulance people, I think, like it might have been before or after. Then I gave him another half, and he started sort of breathing, and he came around. But I felt like, yeah, good. Like, mate, he probably would have died if it wasn't for me. So I've heard other people like using it around Winchester. Yeah, I think it's brilliant, yeah.
When I was a service user in Southampton, under Southampton Services, they dispensed naloxone to service users some time back. I was dispensed a pen and then had to use it in a number of occasions. So the first service user that I used it on was a case. There was two service users who drank a lot of alcohol, and heroin wasn't their normal drug of choice, but they'd used some heroin that night. They both would have died, there's no doubt they would have died, both of them. So I remembered the advice that had been given and the training that had been given to me, and administered naloxone to both of them, and they both came round.
I think it's really important to state that 50% of the drug-related deaths are for people that aren't engaged in services. So it really is for us about accessing those that actually currently aren't in treatment as well as those who are. So the next step for us is really the prisons. A lot of drug-related deaths occur from when prison release, so when someone's released from prison, the time it takes to get them into the community drug service, to get them scripted, that they're very, very high risk. So our aim would be to work with prison services. We currently work ourselves in 27 prisons across the UK. So we feel actually we're the right people to move this forward, work with Public Health England, NHS England in taking this forward. So the idea, perfect scenario, would be when someone really is released from prison, as well as having been given their keys and their phone, they also get an naloxone pen. What we want to encourage now is, A, everyone's trained in naloxone, but B, we promote them actually to carry it with them. That's the key, because actually it's when someone overdoses, you need to have it in your pocket, because you need to actually administer it, sort of instantly when someone sort of does overdose. Drug-related deaths are on the up. They're going to be on the up, especially with the elderly population that we're now faced with. So I think naloxone is pivotal in the next 12 to 18 months, that we get it out with police, we get it out to probation, and we get everyone trained in it. And the HSJ has really empowered us to promote the work that we do.